And hello YouTube. So let's talk about this little four-wheeler here for my son. He got this back in Christmas of last year from his grandparents. And it's a small little four-wheeler. It's really just one-wheeler. Only one wheel moves. What you can see right here, that is the wheel. So it's made by, I believe, KL, and it's a KL-40058. It is a 7 volt, 6 volt. It's a 6 volt four-wheeler that has a motor that's only 13,000 RPMs. So with my son being 4 years old, this thing only goes about maybe 2 miles, and you can see some of the brush around here. It will not be able to get into the brush at all. It cannot traverse it. As soon as he gets off that little hardball right there and starts going through the brush, he can no longer move. So I thought, what a great weekend project, and we can go ahead and rip this thing out and soup it up. So let's see what I've done. So to get this thing open, you're going to have to unfasten this right here. You can see the little right there how it comes out. Pull this seat open. That exposes the battery port as well as the motor. So the work is already done. I'll go ahead and shine a light so you can see it. What you have here where the light is shining on is the cable going towards the battery, which is underneath this cover right here. There's really not too much going on. I'll show you how the battery connects here in a second. But what you got down here is these terminals right here, that white wire and green wire, are leading right into what's called a speed controller. And all it is a small circuit board with a potentiometer on it, which is a little knob. And that knob leads to this motor to control the revolutions. So currently this thing will go 40,000 RPMs. With the potentiometer, you can go ahead and kill it a little bit. So again, this was a 7 volt system. So I had to go ahead and up it a little bit. Or excuse me, 6 volt. I keep saying 7. 6 volt system. So I wanted to up it. This is the prior battery right here. And it's more or less junk. It's really small. These are the terminals you can see right here. So I really did not want to keep this. I wanted to upgrade the voltage on it. So I went ahead and replaced it with a battery that's twice the capacity. And it's running off of a 12 volt system. The main reason for that is this motor right here operates off of 12 volts. And that's a 40,000 RPM motor. It's a DC motor you can order on Amazon. It costs maybe probably about $12, maybe a little bit more. And it's replacing this right here. As you can see right there, that's the DC motor that came in it, and it's operating at 13,000 RPMs. So really slow, really slow. So to control that motor and how fast it can go is this little top piece right here, and it's just a cheap little circuit board they made to control the speed and make sure there's enough amperage going to that motor to where it's not going too fast but not too slow. But more or less it's junk. So a couple things about this is you can kind of see right there that red dot on the left hand side. That's your positive connection. So if you're gonna go the same route I did, that's the side that your hot wire needs to go on, your positive, and the other side being your negative. So in doing this, like most people, I would expect there to be red for positive and black for ground, but that's not the case. So what they had in here is they have a green wire and a white wire, which you can see right there. So the white wire is the positive and the green is the ground. So that's how you got to wire it up, all right? So now let's go ahead and talk about this this speed controller real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out real quick so you can see it. Set my phone down real quick and all right. So I've unplugged the power source. So there's no chance of shock or anything. Initially, when I went ahead and got a speed controller, I got one of these little cheap ones off of Amazon, and it was a 2-pack for $6. You can see where they plug in. I had these 2 wires right here soldered to the DC motor, and the other 2 go into the power. And you can see right there, it's pretty self-explanatory how the terminals are supposed to act. Now, this said that it was made for 12 volts, and I'm not saying it's not, but I just don't think you could take the amperes. So after turning this potentiometer right here all the way up and pressing the foot pedal, which gives the electricity to the motor, it sparked on there and fried it. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's just slightly blackened on the back. So I think you can see it. It's right below one of the soldering points on the bottom of the screen. You can see a little bit of black coming off. Wasn't much, but I disconnected it. I hooked it back up a little bit later, and you can smell the smoke coming off of it again. So obviously not safe. So I went ahead and ordered this one off of Amazon. It was about $17, and it was actually essentially bought with that one. People who bought the 40,000 RPM DC motor also bought this speed controller. So just wired it up real quick, and again, you have this potentiometer right here, and that controls the speed. So taking it this way, it's literally throttling the speed down to nothing. So let's go ahead and plug it in real quick so you can see for yourself. So again, I'm going to set this phone down real quick and give this a shot. Alrighty. Alright, so right now, power is going to the battery. That's the on switch for Ford. So now I'm going to go ahead and press this, and nothing. So now let's turn this potentiometer. I'm going to turn it, let's say, a quarter. See it trying. So it does have power. Now let's turn it up, and you'll see it push a little bit more. So it's throttling up. Alright, I'd say it's maybe halfway at most. So it's probably 3/4. 3/4 of the 40,000 RPMs. And then finally, let's go ahead and kick it up all the way. Alright, so you can see right there, it's actually really, really powerful. Definitely gives the kids a lot of fun. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn this in reverse, alright, and see what this does. You can see that because of this, it just doesn't really have a reverse anymore. Let me throttle it down. Yeah, it doesn't work anymore. But, and again, you put it back in forward like I did. Turn it up, and it goes again. So, but some of the reasonings for this, behind doing this, was he just wasn't able to traverse through the grass at all, or through the pine needles right now, but he would get stuck right there. The average speed that was advertised, I believe, is 3.5 miles for that 13,000 RPM motor, which in reality is probably like maybe 2 miles an hour. And less for a bigger child, so it just wasn't worth it. Now, with that said, make sure I turn this back up. With that said, with the new one, with the new motor and the new speed controller, with the potentiometer turned up, he's going probably 4, maybe even 5 miles an hour on it. All right, with that said though, let's move on real quick to the battery. Again, you have to replace the battery. I used all the same connections. The wires seem to be able to hold a 12-volt system, so I'm not too worried about that. You can see right here, there is already a port for power, and it says it's 7.5 volts. But again, the battery I put in, it's 12 volts. So one of the considerations I had was upgrading the power cord that came with it to get a 12-volt power cord so I wouldn't mess up the battery. But lo and behold, the power cord that came with it is indeed 12 volts. DC 12 volts, outputting 2000 milliamps. So it is a slow charge, but it is the correct voltage for this battery, which means the stock stuff was actually the incorrect voltage for the 6-volt battery, which is not really a good thing, but it worked out in the end. So there you have it. A couple upgrades that are probably going to come to this thing too are going to be replacement tires for it. There's tires on Amazon. Oh, by the way, this speed controller right here cost me about $17, $18. This DC motor cost me about $11, $12. Along with that, what else did I buy? Oh, the battery was $24, and I'll post a link in the description. With this, it already has a fuse in it, a 30 amp fuse. So if you do blow it, you just got to take off the case here, and it's a regular car fuse, 30 amps that you put back in it. So that's a lifesaver. You don't have to worry about buying a new part. Instead, you just buy a small little fuse for cents on the dollar. So yeah, that's really a wrap. Pretty soon I'll be putting on real tires for here. These are just plastic tires, not too good. The real tires will actually give it more traction and help it traverse through a little bit better. So there you have it. This is the KL-40058, which is really now the KL-50058 after all these modifications. So I'll put the links in the description for all the parts bought. If you got any questions, let me know, and enjoy.